No matter your genre, no matter your style, world building is key. Done right, it elevates the story and wraps readers into the narrative. And done wrong, done poorly, it extinguishes potential and ruins great plot and characters. It kills stories. This is why it's vital. Too often, characters and plot get the focus. And when a story isn't working or doesn't land like it should, writers don't look at their world building, don't see how that could be tweaked or overhauled to help. It's an aside for some reason, an afterthought. But it's part of the makeup of all good stories. So here today, to understand world building and its value, I'm going to address the top 3 mistakes that I see
all the time
with world creation. Mistakes that ruin wonderful story ideas and need avoiding. Now, the 3 mistakes I'll grapple with are world building seen solely as the physical setting, world building that doesn't integrate with the plot and the characters, and world building that's unbalanced and chokes the story. If you think world building is just a setting, you're doing it wrong. Paraphrase loosely there from Patrick Rothfuss, but it captures the mistake. World building is so much more than what's physical. It's everything. And when writers only see it as the background, as the blinking light bulb in the cafe, they're losing out on the power that world building holds. World building can be carved into 3 parts. Yes, it's the physical setting, but it's also the cultural setting. And for those dealing with fantasy, it extends to the magic system. Through those areas, it's the writer's job to enrich the story and the characters. Breaking it down, the physical setting is everything that would still be in the world if sapiens weren't messing around with it. Topography, weather, viruses, flora, fauna, etc. The cultural setting is everything that sapiens create. Religion, food lore, languages, traditions, building techniques and materials. And magic systems are how the magic works, which can lean into cultural aspects too. So if we were to take Frank Herbert's Dune, the physical setting, or one of the physical settings, is the arid, spice-rich world of Arrakis. The cultural setting is the belief of the Fremen, that Paul is the Messiah. Though it's not magic in the conventional sense, abilities shown by the Bene Gesserit, and indeed Paul himself, are a magic system that adds to the world building of the story. When a story doesn't look at world building as this multi-pronged feature, it struggles to add layers to the story. Without the cultural aspects, the whys of the world aren't presented, aren't explored. The physical setting will give you the woods that a character walks through, but the cultural setting will bring out the relationship with the natural world. Is this a wood that has a religious significance? Is this a wood that can only be visited by certain races? Is this a wood that produces materials for a certain fashion? Understanding the extent of the world building is what's key.
World building is everything.
And as creators of worlds, writers should never leave anything to assumption. Choose all the elements of your world, especially those that are important to your story. Assume as little as possible. With the understanding of what world building is, it's key to integrate the elements into the story in a way that's valuable and not for show or because you've spent years developing it or because you believe it's cool. How your world building fits in with your story must be on your mind. As world building isn't grouped with plot and characters, it's often approached separately. When it is, there's a risk of it not being integrated. When world building works, it's seamless. It runs through everything, characters and plot. If you think of stories like Red Rising or The Golden Compass, the world building meshes with the story and drives it forward. It's not only a paragraph here and there, added at the start of a chapter before the events start. It's woven into every aspect to the point that it's almost invisible. Once again, using Herbert's Dune, you see world building integrated to perfection. The world of Arrakis is vital to the story. It creates the context for the need of spice, and thus the overthrowing of House Atreides. Beliefs held by the Fremen inspire Paul's ascension to being this messianic figure. So much of the plot, its direction and purpose, relies on the physical and cultural settings. The destinies of the characters are pinned with the world building. The synergy between the world element and the plot is constant, and a wonderful example of how the 3 elements should be entwined. That connection, that integration may seem obvious, but it's not. The elements harmonize around purpose. That's how good world building, strong world building, lifts and pushes a story. It's the ability to see it, yes. It's also the writer's understanding of and developing the elements of the world that are important to the story and not being sidetracked too heavily with that which doesn't have narrative value. It's balance, knowing what to use and include to color the world and enrich the story. Too much will suffocate, and not enough will not afford the plot and the characters the layers and depth they should have. Now, we love sharing our worlds and all the aspects that we dreamt in the noise of our minds. This love, when unfettered though, leads to a choking of our stories. It's why balance is key and helps stop that world building mistake of overwhelming readers and narratives with the world. Hopefully, I've expressed what world building is and how it should be employed. But balance is the one that even experienced writers struggle with. You can understand how to weave world building into stories and its value. Overdoing it happens and will choke your story. From Rothfuss's Name of the Wind to Yanagihara's A Little Life, good world building lets the story breathe. It allows the characters and what's happening to them to take center stage. Stories are remembered for their characters, and characters are remembered for how they face the events thrown at them. World building's job isn't to detract from those areas or to overshadow them.
It's about the balance.
And feeding world building into the story in a way that allows characters and events to shine and shine at their brightest. It is touch, in my experience. Knowing when and where to feed the world into the story. It's also about honesty, picking what's best for the story, not what you believe is interesting or cool. Balance is the mistake hardest to manage because it can change from genre and story and from scene to scene. It's something that improves as your writing does, as you get a sense of what you're writing and what you want to say. So they were the 3 most common world-building mistakes that wreck stories. We saw how world-building must be understood as a physical setting as well as a cultural setting, and magic systems for those stories with them. We also looked at world-building's place alongside story and characters, and the importance of integrating all 3 elements as seamlessly as possible. Lastly, we unpicked the balancing act that takes place with world-building. Now it should always enrich the characters and the events they experience. When right, world-building is beautiful. It's the silent piece of magic, unsung hero of a story. Done wrong, it becomes loud and ugly, derailing the journey. It's something that needs focus in the mind of the writer, but should never be the focus for the experience of the reader. Thanks for watching. What are your world-building mistakes that you feel ruin stories? Let me know in the comments.